How about that, eh? That's the Manage Comics 2 teaser. I'm actually putting together a fairly long form video, and it'll be a couple minutes long. But while I was doing that, I was in iMovie, and there's all this trailer making capability, and I was like, "Oh, this looks fun." It was super easy, which is kind of the Apple way, right? So, Manage Comics wants to be the Apple of the comics industry. That's our goal. So, listen, today I'm super excited. We are going to have a special guest star, Craig Oliphant, who's my partner at NorthIQ. And we are going to talk marketing, and specifically marketing in difficult times. So marketing when things are good is easy, but when things are bad, it's super important. So what we're seeing with all the supply chain issues and just general kind of chaos with PRH and Diamond and DC and Lunar and all the things that are happening, we are definitely kind of in different times. And so the importance of marketing there is that it's not only an ability to kind of turn on and turn off demand, and Craig will talk a lot about some of the marketing buzzwords like demand generation and things like that. But it's also important to kind of communicate in a crisis. And so without further ado, let me jump into my little ThoughtStream deck, and we'll just talk a little bit about our agenda. So we're going to do marketing in difficult times. I'm going to take that off the top of the show, just so that Craig can be free to go pick up his kids at any point. And then we'll do our development update and what we're working on next. So kind of the standard stuff. But let me not delay and bring in my good buddy Craig. Craig Oliphant, here you are. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. It's a Thursday. I like to call it Pico Friday, Little Friday. So yeah, we're doing good. So Craig, let's talk a little bit about you for a couple seconds. You've been doing marketing like almost as long as I've been alive.
And I'm the young one of the partnership here.
Yeah, so you've been in marketing since what, 99?
Yeah, so basically right out of school. A lot of it was more kind of design based, but that's when I first started to sort of cut my teeth in the industry, and I've been doing it ever since. So yeah.
Yeah, so Craig started out in 99 at a company called StarTech, and Craig, you've never heard this one before. He's the elephant in the room. So Craig got to start at a company called StarTech, and they make like bits and bobs for computers, like cables, and the CEO of the company once described it as we make accessories for computers, but not the fun ones, which I think is a great name. But what kind of where this all ties together is Craig has experience with supply chains and with companies having to introduce products, and there's long lead times between when you introduce a new lightning cable, for example, and when that lightning cable is available in stores, and the marketing of that product in that kind of lifespan. And not only that, but Craig has the experience of tons of pieces and accessories and things that are kind of long in the tooth and need to be remarketed to get out there. So I think he's going to provide some really cool insights into this. And then of course, Craig and I met each other at our previous company, which shall remain nameless. And he was doing marketing there, and I was like in IT, so we became buddies. Yeah. Julian says he used to work for Rogers and has seen a lot of StarTech stuff flying around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in 2008, Craig came and started working at the company I was at. We kind of hit it off, and just it was nice having a marketing ally, and I think it was nice for Craig having an IT ally, so we could do crazy things together. In 2015, I convinced him to leave his cushy job and come join me at NorthIQ. And he has been, for the last 6 months, kind of solely focused on the marketing side of our business, while I put all my efforts into the Manage Comics side. So Craig has been making us most of the money for the last 6 months while I spend all the money on the other side. So Craig, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about marketing. Like, why should I, as a store owner, care about marketing? It sounds stupid, expensive, and just a waste of my time.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you hear that a lot. And you hear a lot of people will say things like, I get emails and they're, they send me 3 a day and they're always sales messages. And, um, you hear a lot of that. And then people take that as like, I don't really think this works, and I don't want to do those types of things. And then a lot of sort of the way that I've built things, and I've been working with Managed Comics as well. And Brian, you and I both have the same kind of philosophy to sort of build our own way. And a lot of what we've done over time is to do things the way that we think is the right way. So not super spammy. With the idea, the notion that we're going to put a lot of effort into engaging clients. We're not looking to make a super quick buck, but if we can have, a client list that likes us over time, that'll be worth a lot more to us. And we've always built out our marketing that way. And definitely we suggest that that's the way that, stores like yourselves should run as well. We can't afford to, look at the short term and disregard the long term. So, definitely our suggestion is to focus on engaging, to focus on creating good relationships. Um, and then when you need them, when you have a sale, when times are a little bit more challenging, when you have stock that is clogging up the warehouse, that kind of thing, that you can rely on them when you need them to look at your sales messages and things like that.
Yeah, that's great points, and I think one of the cool things and one of the reasons we're so behind Shopify is just because Shopify organically creates that mail distribution list, and that list is gold because not only is it something you can market people to with people, but it's also something that you can use as an asset. So it's actually a physical asset when you sell your business at some point, if you decide to sell your business. Having an active marketing email list that has engaged users on it, that has, let's say, a 50 or 60% open rate, that's a huge asset that you have to consider when you're selling your business, and often is worth like, X number of dollars per subscriber you have. But what's even cooler, and what's not so much long-term, value into your business, is with Shopify, you actually see how much each one of those emails earned you in revenue. And in a future one of these, I think I'll do a deep dive into some of the tricks and tips behind the email marketing. Right now, I've actually set up a new Shopify store for the first store that I used to own, All New Comics, and over the next couple of months, I'm going to be doing some experiments with Pete. He agreed to let me test things out on his store and then write use cases for it. So that's definitely what I'll be doing there with that stuff. So Craig, I got a couple questions for you. Would you recommend dedicating somebody to marketing? And like, let's talk about kind of the marketing things that a store should be doing. So what are some of the things? What would you say? What is marketing? What would you say marketing is?
So I heard two questions there. Would I dedicate a person to it?
Why don't we start with what is marketing? Because I think this is a question, when you and I talk about it, like, our answer is vastly different from what most people think marketing is.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, obviously the stores that we're kind of talking to and dealing with have put a lot of effort into, um, their actual store merchandising, product, fulfilling the needs of the people who come in, that kind of thing. The way that they interface, the brand, the store brand. I mean, all of that stuff to me is marketing, and then you can sort of take that philosophy and you can expand it out even further, and you can say, like, how do we answer the phone? um, you know what what are we doing online when people ask questions? Do we have our store hours, and are we answering things that come through Google? um, you know, all of that stuff put together, when combined with, your brand messaging, and how maybe your sort of your philosophy of how you run your business, maybe it has, sort of unique culture. All that stuff to me comes together, um, in one sort of integrated marketing plan. Sometimes people don't really think about that. And I even remember back from, when Brian and I, we were sort of in the corporate world, and even somebody like, accounts receivable, or any kind of interface point with the client is definitely an opportunity to just add on to, the message that you put across to your clients. And I consider all of that marketing.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. Yeah, that's like, I think you and I have joked in the past that like everything is marketing and marketing is everything. So it's everything from how you respond on a phone call, how you whether or not you fulfill the hours that you've committed to on a Google listing of your hours. We were talking earlier today about a store that I went to buy a $2,000 item from, and I got there at 4:45, and their website said they were open till 5, and they were like, "Yeah, we're closing early today." What? Because nobody was here. I'm like, "I'm here. I'd like to buy a
Yeah.
rowing machine, please."
So
So
right
we
there
ended up
was a
buying
great
it online.
opportunity to kind of turn it around, right?
What's that?
It was a kind of a great opportunity to turn it
Oh,
around.
yeah, absolutely. And instead, like, I guarantee you, I will never shop at that store ever again. And I won't, I will tell everyone not to. So it was the opposite of a marketing experience. It was a bad marketing experience. Um, yeah. So it's not just like, it's also the merchandising, how you display things in your store. It's the leave behinds or flyers that you give out. It's the emails you send. It's how you deal with social media. All that stuff is marketing, and you can really tell the difference between a good and bad place just based on how their marketing is. I mean, I would even go as far, especially in today's day and age, your layout of your store, and whether or not 10 years ago when I had tiny children and couldn't get them into one of the stores in the city, like, that was a bad marketing decision on their part. And so I went to the other store in the city because I literally couldn't bring my baby stroller into the one place, and they lost hundreds of dollars a month because they needed to cram things into a huge, by the way, like, we're talking a 5,000 square foot place that they have tiny little aisles for. Um, so we know what marketing is. Let's talk a little bit about you know when I should really up my marketing. So what are some examples of, like, a time when I should be delivering more marketing? And I think, Craig, you and I specifically speak about kind of an integrated approach where you have some sort of in-store experience that is layered on top of an email that may drive people to your store, but combining that also with a little bit of social media. So
Mhm.
how can we take this integrated approach, and when would we use that to drive people?
So it's interesting because a lot of, customers that we and prospects that we speak to at NorthIQ, they're in a situation where they're now trying to play catch up. So sales are down, or maybe, um, like what we've had with some challenging times, or, there's issues internally, and then they're like, well, now we need to do some marketing. And you and I always said, like, at that
Hmm.
point, it's not too late, but I mean, if you had had some foresight, some of these things might have been started before, and I think, like, when you actually really sit down and think, now I need it, it's available to you. And one of those things, like, when I really think about it, and this super useful for stores, is to build that email list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you're not actively engaging with your prospects and your customers via email yet, it's still a great time to begin building that list and using it. So, like, and we had spoken earlier about, return on investment and, budget and things like that. And I can't think of a better way to engage with customers, engage with prospects, cheaper than with, or I shouldn't say cheaper, but more cost effectively than with email.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to, extend some of your in-store culture that you have, engage people over time, and then periodically sort of sprinkle in some sales messages when you need it. So definitely, like, I recommend sitting down and figuring out ways that you might build that email list. What you're going to reach out with, what type of content, that type of thing. So that's definitely important. As a big part of that, you'd mentioned social platforms, and I know Manage Comics does a fair bit of it, but definitely on the social platforms where your customers are. And when I say on there, I mean, like, if your most recent post is 31 weeks ago, you might as well not really have a presence. So getting on those social platforms, engaging over time, even if when you do it, you don't see what you had hoped, which is a lot of new follows and comments and things like that, it's important to sort of keep that going for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you brought a couple really, really good things here that I think we're going to have to build on in some future episodes. So I think I'll dedicate one specifically to kind of building a mailing list and doing that with Shopify specifically. One of the key pieces that a lot of people forget to do is when you add anyone new to your mailing list, they should get a welcome email that is kind of like, my favorite ones are the ones that are quirky and that are like, hey, I just saw that you joined. I dropped everything I was doing to send you this email. They're going to be automated, but there's no reason why an automated email can't be fun and kind of neat looking, and really reflect the brand that you're representing. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that kind of thing. If you guys are informal, don't send out an email that says, "Dear so and so, I'm so happy, pleased to see that you." It might be, "Hey, I just looked up from the latest issue of Captain Aardvark and wanted to let you know that I appreciate that you're here." And then let them know the kinds of things that you'll be sending to them in the future. I think that's kind of important. Um,
The great
Another
thing
thing you
actually about
mentioned
being a
was,
store owner is you could literally just do anything. And you and
yeah.
I say this all the time. It's like we don't have to have our look and feel doesn't have to be kind of corporate. We can send anything we like, and so we should be open to it. And
Oh my God, Craig, you've frozen. You've totally frozen. I'm going to take Craig off the screen for a minute because he's apparently frozen on us. Um, so yeah, what Craig was talking about there was kind of, we have a philosophy of do anything, and one of the neat things about our company is that we specifically have chosen a certain level of people that we don't want to work with, and that's kind of really formal ones. We both worked in kind of the corporate world for the last 15 years, and I really don't want to ever have to have 5 sets of approvals to get something done. Um, this is interesting. So Danica says, Danica is of Variant Edition in Edmonton, I think I want to say. So Danica said, a huge red mark for me is when I check a business's social and they haven't posted for months or years. At that point, that you're better off not being on that platform at all. I agree 100%. If you're going to have a static social media platform, make sure you've done something fun with it to leave it alone. Like one good example is when you see like an Instagram and they've done like a 9 grid of one huge image, you might be okay with that. Craig, you had a slightly unfortunate face to freeze in there. It's true.
don't show me.
Um, this is Andrea Books with Pictures in Eugene, who's a Managed Comics 2.0 user, and so's Danica. Although we're really struggling to get her customers from 1.0 over to 2.0, so we gotta do some work on that this week. Sorry, Craig, you froze on me there for a minute.
Yeah, I think I was just going to say that, and especially in the comic world where, it is kind of fun. I think there should be the freedom to do things and try things, and that's a lot of what we sort of stress. And then especially if you're the store owner, I mean, you can do whatever you like,
Yeah,
and if it reflects who you are and what your store represents, then that's even better.
absolutely. And it's like, it's really important to kind of cater to yourself and do the things that make your store unique, right? Like every single comic store I've ever been into is different, and if you're all marketing the exact same way, it's not kind of playing to your strengths. So you really do have to lean into your own brand. Like Craig and I, our brand for NorthIQ, which is slightly different than Manage Comics, not too different though. We've always said that we want to be like your smart buddy that you ask a question to, and he's always got like a smart answer. And when he doesn't know, he actually says, "I don't know. We should look into that together." I think that's really important. So with Managed Comics, we do the same thing. Like I don't sell comics day to day, but the thing I do is I market, and I'm marketing my own thing, which I think we do fairly well. I think we're really good at getting marketing out there. I know for a fact we're better than Comic Suite because we own the number one Google ranking for most of their things because we've actually put time and effort into it. And that brings up a whole other thing with Google, My Business, and
Hmm.
kind of Google rankings and stuff. I know you are super passionate about Google My Business. You think that that is like the single most important thing that a store or any business can do. So could you maybe speak a little bit about Google My Business?
Yeah, so that was my number 3 point. And I mean, just the fact that it's a free tool offered by Google and it's pretty easy to get onto it. There's also the side benefit of, it acting as your store hours in Google. People can actually reach out through it. You can run events and contests. You can put up store photos of events you've had. Um, and as well, just having it there helps with your Google rankings and your listings. If you ever did a search and you saw the little city map and it has, the stores on it, that's what powers it. So there's a ton of reasons that stores should be taking advantage of the Google My Business platform yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so the more so I guess a couple little things about Google My Business that are really important. First of all, if you haven't claimed your Google My Business, like as soon as this is done, I want you to go and do that. It's very easy. They're going to send you a postcard to your actual physical address, and you're going to verify that you own it. Once you do, you can update your business hours, and you should be updating your holiday hours like as often as you possibly can. You can set those up like literally a year in advance, but make sure you do it. Make sure you approve any reviews and preferably respond to reviews, because when you do that, it actually sends signals to Google that you are, a valid, um, active business, and that's really good in terms of getting you the kind of higher level of ranking and things. And so, as you're an active business, as you're if you're using the Google channel in Shopify, then products will start showing up on Google Shopping, and that raises up your local search ranking. So you may not be able to beat Amazon for absolute doomsday clock, but you absolutely can beat every other store in your city by having an active presence on Google My Business and making sure that your content is up there.
Not only that, but there's some cool actual functionality you can use that probably your competitors aren't doing. For example, when someone does a search for, comic book stores in whatever town you're in, and then you come up there and your competitors are there as well. If you actually have your listing, you can have a button there that would direct message you, for example, so people can reach out if they have questions or whatever. So there's, a lot of bells and whistles once you get in there that allows you to, even just during doing searches, have a look and feel and a presentation that's much more professional.
Absolutely. Before we move on, because we do have, so I've got like some kind of takeaways that I want to give you guys before we move on to the development update and all that good stuff. And I have to say goodbye to Craig. Anybody have any questions for us? Because I'm happy to, while we've got Craig and we can pick his brain, shoot your questions here, and we'll get those up. But we do have some takeaways for you that you can do while you're thinking about this. So let me, boom. So one takeaway is going to be to build an email database. Super easy to do. If you're using Shopify or any e-commerce platform, you're already kind of doing it. But make sure that you are building an active email database. And one of the ways that you're going to do that is by sending out an email that just says, hey, we're your local store. Just a reminder that we're here. And what that's going to do is kind of reactivate your list if you haven't done that in a while. But with the holidays coming up and everything, it's probably a good idea to interact with your audience through email anyway. Another thing that we talk about a lot is integrating online and offline marketing. So if you're creating a printed, piece of material for something, like maybe it's an upcoming sale that you're going to have, or you're planning on doing an event in store or something like that, make sure that you have the same kind of marketing material prepared for online. So you're going to post that to your socials, you're going to send an email out about it, and you're going to do it roughly the same time that you do your print material. And finally, merchandising. So a flyer with current promotions, combine it with social media push, email about the same event. Well, that's exactly what I just said, isn't it? So I think integrate online and offline was really, really what I meant there. Craig, you got anything else before I kick you out of my thought stream?
No, I would just be happy to answer questions if there is any. And I hope that, stores got a little bit of something out of it that they might be able to use.
What do you think? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you got something out of this, and if you've got anything that you'd like us to kind of expand on, give us a shout right now. Give them a couple seconds. On a previous thought stream, you mentioned a cross-platform social messaging schedule. I'm pretty sure it was you. Do you remember what it was called? Yeah, we use it all the time. It's called Buffer. So we actually use the free version of it, which allows you to connect. I think it's 3. Yeah, because we've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on our Buffer. And if you go to Instagram.com/Manage Comics right now, you'll see, all of our posts that we do a comic pick of the week that Jillian likes to tease me about my picks when they're not great. So yeah, we do that every week, and I usually schedule that about a month in advance, which kind of sucks right now because there's so many, there's just so many disruptions in the industry. So King Spawn was supposed to release the week before I had actually posted it, so that didn't work. Julian of BD Cosmos says we'll have to pick your brain sometime in the future. Well, let's figure out what we can talk about, and complain is what he meant. Yeah. You tease me straight up. Hey, we got a lot of thumbs up. Challengers Comics, books with pictures. Charles LePage. Charles is from the Comic List, and we actually use we kind of augment our own data with Charles's release dates, because often the release dates that we get from the publishers are wrong, and Charles does a meticulous job every week of tweaking the release dates. And so I upload it to our system usually on Wednesdays, and I use that to actually go out and fetch all the images again so that we've got up-to-date images in our system. We got a thumbs up from Digital Heroes and a thumbs up from our friends at Variant Edition. So Craig, good job. You got a lot of thumbs up. You got a thank you from Dream Days. So awesome work. We'll get you back here, and we'll Charles says meticulous. I'm putting that on my resume. It's meticulous. All right. So yeah, thanks so much, Craig. And I'll probably talk to you again sometime. Maybe
probably tomorrow. Maybe right after this meeting.
Yeah, most likely. All right. Well, I'm kicking you out of here, and we're gonna move on with our good stuff. So, all right, it's just us. Craig can't hear us anymore. He's gone. So now we can really talk about Craig and what we really think about him. No, he's a good guy. I'm so lucky to be working with him and to be able to do some of the stuff we do. I'm actually going to change screens on my, so I'm going to stop that and I'm going to change to a different screen. I'm going to show you guys some cool stuff. So, we've been working on a ton of updates recently. It has been major bug killing mode. We have, last week alone, well, in the last 5 days, I think we killed 14 bugs. And they've just been just annoying. A lot of them were PRH kind of related things that we just, now that we're actually getting invoices, the invoices we got were quite a bit different than the invoices that we were given to test with. So that caused a bunch of problems, but we hit those pretty quickly. I think we got a real invoice on Monday, and by Monday afternoon we had it solved. So the nice thing about our platform is when we make a change once, everybody gets it. So it's not like you have to download the latest version of it and refresh things. You're going to get the latest version every time you are using the platform, which is super nice. We found a few weird kind of idiosyncrasies with the way that Shopify works. So that caused some issues. We're realizing little things like we have to set a shipping preference in Manage Comics and force that over to the draft invoice, because right now all of our invoices get created without shipping. So just little things like that. And we've had a couple problems with Manage Comics Classic. One of the Wonder Woman 80th anniversaries, between the title and the title we had in the database, which we kind of combine, it ended up being 259 characters, and our string limit on that field is 256. So it broke all of the pulls that day. Luckily, somebody did their pulls early on Monday morning, and we saw that like our system was breaking, and so we fixed it fairly quickly. But still, I got kind of a snippy email from one of our customers who's like, is this going to be something that happens often? And I'm like, no, it's literally never happened before. We've never had a title that had, it was like 160 characters just for the actual title. And then the one we had in the database was another 139 characters. Who would have thought, right? Like, it was so ridiculous. So yeah, those are little bugs, but the coolest features we've released lately with our subscriptions. So again, this is my little demo shop. It's not a real store. Long Box of Comics doesn't exist. You can't buy comics there. Please do not ever go there and try and buy comics, because you'll break my brain and I'll have to figure out how to cancel your order. This I'm logged in. Oh no, I'm not logged in as Brian Garside. I think that's my email address. Think that's my password. Yeah, my password is password, by the way, if you were wondering. So yeah, this is me logged in as my Manage Comics test user. Thanks, solid shop name. Dream Day says, yeah, I kind of love it. It's I actually wanted to write a cartoon about a thing called Long Box of Comics ages ago. So where this is kind of neat is we're going to go to a thing called Truth. So this is on FOC this week, so I can still pre-order it and modify my series subscriptions. We now have this new little thingy that pops up when our subscriptions are there. So if I want to pre-order the main or B cover for a thing called Truth, I can do that. If I want to modify my series subscriptions, so I'm already subscribed to the B cover, but I could also subscribe to the main cover. If I want to pre-order one version of the cover, I can do that as well. So I just want to pre-order. I've already got a pre-order for the B cover, but I could pre-order the A cover as well. And then I can go through and kind of update those. Interesting. So that is not showing up sequentially. So this is great because I'm actually seeing things that I'd never even thought of before. I would like that to organize, issue 1, issue 2. And I'd also like it to be A cover, B cover, just for organization's sake. So this is a good thing I can show to Tross later. Another really cool thing is the first time that somebody tries to subscribe to something, they get a subscription term, which was thanks to our friends at Variant Edition. They requested subscription terms, so we added that feature. And the subscription terms, we've written a boilerplate one, but you can totally modify those however you see fit. So that's one of our features. And then the other big feature that we really, really worked hard on based on user preference and feedback is our my subscription page. So what you'll see here is, you got pre-orders and series. A pre-order is a one-off thing. A series is something that you're going to get regularly. We are going to add pricing here, I think. What do you guys think? Do you think we should have pricing on this page? I think it makes sense. So we've got a pre-order of 1, a pre-order of 2. See, it's alphabetical here. Charles asked, does it suggest comics to subscribers? Not yet. We are going to kind of, that stuff will be early next year. We're going to do a lot of stuff around, what pricing is good. People want to know. Julian from BD Cosmos says, yeah, we've got a whole plan around adding, you get Batman, you probably want Batman Reptilian, so we'll showcase kind of the things that you get, and then over time that'll get even smarter. So if you got Doomsday Clock, we might want to suggest that you want Doomsday Clock, Absolute Doomsday Clock. Man, I couldn't think there. So Jeff says pricing is good, especially Jeff and BD Cosmos are both Canadian. So is Andrew at Wonder Harbor. If the pricing can reflect Canadian prices, that'd be good. Yeah. So we actually do that kind of behind the scenes. We track your Canadian exchange rate at the time. Although, thanks to Julian, we will be. I forgot I subscribed to this. When does it start again? It's been weeks. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's why shipping date is in there. So we try and get the shipping date on everything. Adventure Man, I'll bet you it's missing a shipping date if it's not showing up there. That's weird because it should show that I'm my shipping date for a series as well. Series don't show shipping date. That's interesting. Maybe we can add that. Julian says you're all welcome. Yeah, so we'll definitely have Canadian pricing because we track right now your exchange rate, but we are working on kind of a Canadian price list, and we're going to be working on that for UK too. So a lot of stores will say, in store you're not going to change your exchange rate every week, so you might have, our price on a $3.99 comic is whatever $3.99 times $1.25 is, and maybe you're going to keep it that way for X number of months. So yeah, we definitely recognize that. That's a lot of Canadian talk, but I'm Canadian, so all y'all Americans have to deal with it. Let's see, what else did we do? Yeah, so there was a lot of kind of bug fixes. We went through a list of there were 28 fixes overall. I have the 28 fixes on our blog, and I'll send that out after this as well. If you go to managecomics.com/blog, it's actually info. If you click on our blog here, the very first one was so many bug stomps. So it just goes down the list of all the stuff we did. The big ones were terms for subscriptions for customers, subscriber IDs, so box numbers. We updated receiving to separate damages from shortages. So when you receive now, you actually say that you got 15 copies of the thing that you're supposed to get 20 copies of it, and 5 of them were damaged, so there's 0 shortages that week. But if you got 25 copies of something you were supposed to get 50 of, 10 of them were damaged, it auto calculates that you were shorted the remaining number, which I don't remember what I just said. I'd probably be 15 if you had 10 damaged, or vice versa. We updated discount rates and calculated discounts, and we display those in the admin now because the discount rates. We wanted to show what your customer is discounted at based on the number of subscriptions they have versus the people that you've overridden discounts on. Revamped the initial order and FOC orders, added Penguin Random House as an FOC and initial order report. We improved the check-in process for items not in the Manage Comics database. This one's cool, actually. I'm going to show this one off because I really like it. So in the bad old days, if there was something in your invoice that we didn't have in our system, and let me grab something I'm hoping I don't have any items for. Where's my desktop? There it is. I'm hoping I've got something here that I don't have items for. Sorry, it's kind of boring to watch me click, click, click. So these guys here, I don't have items for. So these aren't in the database of the of GeekFetch right now. So I can change this to variant. I'll say that it's comic. I can say which publisher it is. I actually don't know what this even is. I would say it's issue 1. I can say which genre it is. This will be a drop down. So that's something that the guys are working on right now. 32 pages. The cost is how much you paid for it, which in this case is 0. Maybe the price is going to be $25. You enter in the USB, and then you can either upload an image or just, if you can grab one from, whatever your distributor is or whatever it is on the internet, you can just paste the URL in there, and then you put in the description, so the actual text. Not only does this create it now in your store, but we get a notification at GeekFetch that a new product has been added to the database. We just review everything for kind of sanity to make sure that it all looks right. We make sure that the image is something that we legally have the right to use, and then boom, we add it to the database. So what's cool is, like, within a few minutes of people starting to do their check-ins on Monday or Tuesday, you start to see updates happen really, really quickly for everybody. So yeah, I'm super, super jazzed about that, just because I have this goal of having a communal database where everything that's in it benefits the entire group and not just me. Yeah, that's a bunch of the cool stuff that we worked on in the last couple of weeks. Right now, for the next week or so, we're going to be really focused on GeekFetch and doing data fixes. There's just so much bad data out there, and it's so bad that on next Thursday, Comics Pro is having a data summit. So if anybody's interested, if you check the Comics Pro user group, you will see an invite to the data summit. So if you want to be there, just to kind of hear what's going on, I'll be there. And there's somebody from kind of the book trade that's going to be there to talk about how they've handled a lot of these problems. But we really need to get a handle on data as an industry. And it's okay. This is one of those growing pains when you start to have things like this. Dream Days asks, do these kinds of updates happen automatically, or do you have to resync to get them? Yeah, those happen. So when we're done a new update, it just appears in your world, so you get it. Because it's a cloud-based platform, anything we do once gets sent out to everyone. We will probably have at some point kind of a bleeding edge selection where somebody who wants to try some of the new features as we build new features in the next year or so, we'll be able to bring those on before other folks, because at some point we're going to need to kind of stress test some of the new things as we start doing that. But yeah, once we roll something out, and everything we roll out, by the way, is thoroughly tested on our staging environment before it goes live to everyone. And then we monitor the heck out of everything for the first day when a new release goes out. So all of us that are on this get alerts on our phones and our watches and everything whenever anything goes down. So I always joke that we know about the problems you've had before you do. And I often will email somebody and say, hey, I saw that you were trying to run your FOC, but it looks like you're using the wrong file, which happens a lot. So yeah, we can see a lot of those things. Because it's JavaScript, though, there's certain things we don't actually see until after somebody has complained about it. So if you do see a problem at any point on the system, do let us know, because it is possible we haven't seen it. So the next week or so's worth of work is going to be focusing on data. I just want to put a little bit of polish on GeekFetch. We're adding about 6 new stores a week right now, and I'm keeping it slow because the beginning is a real hands-on approach, and I've had to walk people through everything from uploading invoices to which invoice types to get, to how not to use Excel to open those invoices because it ruins the UPC codes. And now UPC is kind of the primary code for Penguin Random House. So if that is broken, your invoice won't even load. So that's bad. I'm focusing on, so my little goal for the next week or so is really fine tuning our data when it comes to variance and ratioed variance specifically. And once that's all fine tuned, then we'll be adding a couple new features to the customer side around variance. So that puts us through for the next couple of weeks. We have 33 items in our backlog, which range from fairly small things like importing the Penguin Random House files that they kindly send to us every night, to kind of some bigger things, because right now a lot of that stuff is manually updated. It's a pain. To some big things like completely revamping our initial order and FOC process. Before I kind of wrap up for the day, so this is the first store that this is the store I owned from 2005 to 2011. My partner Pete still owns it, and I moved it over to Shopify this weekend. He's got about 1,100 products because he only keeps kind of graphic novels and trade paperbacks on his site. He doesn't really do a lot of single issue sales. But yeah, I added it, and I'm really happy with this theme. This theme is called Expanse. I think it costs about $320 US. And I find that I can like configure it really nicely. What's really cool is it comes with some built-in filtering that I've tweaked a little bit, so that this filtering is actually using information from GeekFetch, so we can kind of filter down to which brands are there, things like that, that it's comics and stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm really happy with this theme and kind of the way it works. So I recommend this one if you're in the market for a new theme and you're looking for something that's easy to implement. One caveat: this is Storefront 2.0, and that is one of the things that I'm focused on in the next 2 weeks, is getting Storefront 2.0 working with Manage Comics 2.0, which it currently does not. It's just because it uses a different kind of coding system than what the old themes do. And so the files we expect to be there when we install Manage Comics on your store aren't there with the new Storefront. So we just have to figure out how to get there. That's it in terms of that good stuff. So let me just unshare that for a minute. Anybody have any questions before we kind of wrap it up here a little bit? We will not be thought streaming next week. We'll be back on the 21st. Next week at the same Manage Comics time and same Manage Comics channel will be the data summit, so I won't be able to be around here. And honestly, next week is insane between my wife and my anniversary and my own birthday. We're just so busy that it's foolish for me to try and plan anything. So yeah, you won't see me next week, but I promise I'll be there in your heart. If you just look inside, you'll find me. All right. Anybody have any questions before we wrap this guy up for the day? Happy to answer anything. Andrew asks, has there been any progress towards getting Universal to cough up shipping info? That's an awesome question, Andrew. So I was talking to Alessandro. I don't know if it's Alessandro or Alejandro. We were talking to him earlier this week. And they say that they're making progress, but they're still not there. They don't have their CSV stuff done. What I'm doing in the interim is I'm going to have Taras and the guys whip up a CSV importer that you'll be able to just take your diamond or lunar codes or PRH codes, whichever one they are, and your quantities, and just create a CSV that way and send that into our system. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it for now. I did want to ask. Thanks, Andrew Foley. I said it right the first way. I'm not even sure what I said wrong. All right. Yeah. So we'll get that thing going in the next little while. I'm hoping in the next week or so we can have that thing running, because without it, our Canadian friends really are a little bit kind of screwed when it comes to this stuff. Manage Comics 2 does have the ability to, and I can show this actually. So let's say you were to go into Alessandro. It is Alessandro. See, I used to work with an Alessandro, but his name was Alejandro. So I never know. But yeah, of course, the French version of that, I believe, is Alessandro. Start over. So I can add files, but instead of adding files, I can also find additional items. So I can search by publisher code, ISBN, UPC, or title. So if I had one, I don't have anything off the top of my head, but I can add things kind of out of cycle. So let's say that it's a Wednesday and you get a delivery of a bunch of books. You do have the ability to go ahead and pull those things and check them in. The term pulls is actually going to get changed at some point soon to check-in, because it's not really just about pulling, although part of the check-in process is that it checks to see if you have any pre-orders for anything like that. So for sure, it'll check and make sure you do. Yeah, Alessandro. So yeah, that'll happen as part of the check-in process. So we could probably fairly quickly create a little screen where you could just type in all the things. I just think that it'll be easier for you to do a CSV with kind of publisher codes on one side and numbers on the other side, and we'll go from there. I think that's about gonna do it for this week. Thank you all so much for your time, and I hope you guys get something out of the marketing stuff that we talked about. I think we'll do a deeper dive on specifically Shopify's email system. I'm starting to build some sequences for Pete, just because I love to understand kind of the process of the way things work. So I'm building some of those out for Peter, and then I'll be able to kind of walk through how I built them and what the success rates of those look like, because he's pretty okay with me kind of sharing some of the behind the scenes sauce when it comes to how we're getting success with his site. So yeah, that's it for us this week. We will see you October 21st with an all new Thoughtstream. In the meantime and in between times, stay safe out there, and we will see you soon.